Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Doesn't like New Year's or Christmas Eve feel a long time ago now? That was like the last time I saw y'all. I missed y'all. It seems like whether people want to make resolutions or not, we all end up asking this question of like, okay, but am I satisfied with my life? And if I'm not, is there anything that can be done about it? And this question also happens to be one of the driving questions of the Gospel of John. Are you satisfied with your life? And if not, can anything be done about it? So, as we start off this new year, during the next 6 weeks of the season of Epiphany, we're going to do a deep dive on the first half of John's Gospel. This is something that we've never done this before at Salt House, and so I'm kind of excited about this. I hope to get you excited about this too today. And we've got two purposes for studying John together. So I just want to take a couple minutes here to say up front our two purposes. The first one is this. We want to experience the life that Jesus came to give. Hey, Jay, do we got anybody on slides? Awesome. So this is our first purpose. We want to experience the life that Jesus came to give. And this purpose of ours is also what the Gospel of John says is Jesus' purpose. John writes down Jesus' mission statement in John 10:10, and it's this, let's read it together. I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. So that means our purposes, our purpi, that's not a thing, is it? Our purposes are getting synced up together here, okay? That is to say, we want out of our time together, this fullness of life is also Jesus' life's mission. So then we also want to ask, why is John, the gospel writer, this gospel, why is John writing in the first place? So then we go to John 20:30 through 31, and we find this. Let's read this together. Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. There it is again. You see this? What Jesus wants to do, and what the Gospel of John wants to do, and what we want to do now are just all united up. We all want to have full life that Jesus wants for us. So, but before we get too far into this, we need a little help to define terms. What does John mean by life? And this word life is going to be a key term for our study. Our English translations have John using the word life 42 times in this gospel. But in the gospel's original language, Greek, it's not all the same word. We just see it life, 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 but it's not all the same word. There are 3 different Greek words for life, so let's differentiate them here. The first one is bios. It's physical life, right? This Greek word refers to the life of the physical body. It's where we get the word biology. Luke 8:14 uses it this way: anxieties and riches and the pleasures of this bios, this life. This is not the word that Jesus uses when he says that he wants to give you life, though. The second Greek word is psyche. It's a soulish life. This Greek word refers to the life of the human soul, its will, its desire, its wants. It's where we get the word psychology. Matthew 16 uses it this way: for whoever wants to save their life, their psyche, shall lose their psyche. But this isn't the word that Jesus uses either. Rather, it's this third word, Zoe. Is Zoe still in the room? Did she leave? I told her before, I was like, Zoe, this entire sermon is going to be about you. She was like, really? This third word, Zoe, it happens 36 times in John. This is significant. And it refers to the divine life John 1:4, in Jesus was Zoe, and the Zoe was the light of humanity. It's a unique word for life. It means this uncreated, eternal life of God that mystically flows to us and through us as we trust and know and live in God through Christ. And I'm not going to say too much about it because this kind of life is going to be slowly revealed throughout this series, throughout this season, story by story, week by week. And each week we want to ask this question, though, like, what is Zoe? What is life? What is it like? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it taste like? And how do we get it? So that's our first purpose together. Our purpose together is life. And then our second purpose is hopefully going to help us toward this first goal. Our second purpose is we want to become students of the Scriptures. Many of you have told me, I grew up studying the Bible, but then I abandoned it because it was abused, and it was used as a weapon. It was used for political agendas, I got so disillusioned by it. I gave up on reading the Bible. And many of you have told me, now I'm in this place that I want to come back to the Scriptures, and I want to learn how to read the Scriptures. And so that's what we want to do together. We're going to get into the weeds here together, a little more than I even brought my reading glasses. That's how much of the weeds we're going to get into, more than normal. Sometimes we're going to look at keywords like life, ancient cultures, archaeology, literary design, all these things that preachers will often consider when they're crafting a sermon, but then we cut it for time and stuff like that, right? But we're going to let you in during this season. We're going to let you in, kind of pull the curtain back on some of this, okay? Does that sound good? So I hope that you take notes during this time. We've provided you a real study guide in your bulletin. You'll be able to download it if you're at home or watching at some other time. And if you need a pen or a pencil, writing utensil, Catherine's got one for you. If you're at home, you're on your own. It's in the junk drawer. But if you want to get a lot out of this series, I want to recommend that take notes, do some writing around this, and by the end of this series, you all are going to be pretty darn close to experts in the Gospel of John. We'll have to we'll have to make some kind of certificate. We'll certify that. Yes. And I think you're going to have just a lot of confidence in reading the Bible. So are you up for that? Are you with me on this? Let's dig in and we're going to do a quick look at John's structure, and then we're going to look at a story. Okay. So here's John's structure. I think this is really fascinating. It starts with a prologue. The Gospel of John starts with this epic poem about the mystical beginning of creation. In the beginning was the pre-existent Word that is spoken by God and creates life, and it's that same Word that shows up in the flesh that this book is about. If you were here for it, we covered it in the first Sunday of Advent, so you can go back, you can listen to that if you want a refresher on it. And then the next part is called the Book of Signs, which I think would be like a great Harry Potter title. The Book of Signs, John 1 through 12 mostly. And this is the largest part of the book. And this is the section that we're going to focus on during the next 6 weeks. And you need to know something about this. There are a ton of differences between John's Gospel and the Synoptic Gospels, which is what we call Mark, Matthew, and Luke, the Synoptic Gospels. And we're going to find out that John has a very unique perspective. One of those differences is the difference between signs and miracles. And John uses the language of signs, not miracles, because signs point to something or someone that isn't obvious. Like a street sign on a hill, right, that says, hey, curves ahead, right? The signs that Jesus does point to his identity as the intersection between heaven and earth, like a temple would be in the ancient world. So Jesus is the place where heaven and earth meet, and there are 7 signs in the Gospel of John. What's significant, you think, about this number 7? Why would John choose 7? What's that?
It's in Hebrew, isn't it? The number 7 about completion.
Yeah, there's something about completion. Yeah, like fullness. Yeah, totally. And what else? Something that you just encounter, well, every week. I was going to say that I was going to give it away. Yeah, right. So there's something about a week, right? So now it's referring back to this Genesis story, right? As if Jesus, the creating Word of God, is recreating, enlivening people in every encounter that he has. So there's something like, there's a lot of design to the Gospel of John. It's not just like a documentary where someone's just following Jesus around with a camera. No, there's like theological intent to this. And so there's, and that's not the only 7, grouping of 7 in John's Gospel. Jesus is given 7 names. He makes 7 I am statements about himself too. 7s are just all over the place. So watch for them, okay? Watch for 7s. The next section is the book of glory. That's John 13 through 20. And this second half is about Jesus' last night with his disciples, his death, his resurrection, which he all calls his glory. We might come to that later on this year. We'll see. And then there's a postlogue. It finishes with a short postscript. Okay, now, I know this was a long intro here, but I wanted to get you oriented before we jump in and we look at this first sign for a few minutes together. Okay. Wedding at Cana. This is a story that's completely unique to John's Gospel. Mark, Matthew, Luke, they don't mention it, but here it is. We're gonna do this one together. Let's read it. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Knowing that numbers are important, what do you think John's hinting at when he says there was a wedding on the 3rd day? It was the 3rd day. What's that?
Resurrection.
Yeah. Something about resurrection. I don't know. It holds a lot of symbolism. I don't know what he's pointing at. And then maybe you already know this too, but weddings in the ancient Near East were not at all like your average American wedding. There were many days of feasting. It would include entire communities. And it was your responsibility to feed, to entertain, probably even lodge your guests. Anyone ever been to a wedding like this? This sounds great. I would love to go to a wedding like this. And if you were getting married, though, this would have been like the biggest event of your life. Jesus shows up. He's brought 4 additional friends. I don't know, maybe that's why they run out of wine early. I don't know. But he's got Andrew, who used to be a follower of John the Baptist, and now he's a follower of Jesus. Andrew has invited his brother, Simon Peter. And then he also just brought on Philip, who invited his brother, Nathaniel. John 21:2 tells us that Nathaniel was from Cana in Galilee, where this wedding is at. So who knows? Maybe Nathaniel is connected to the wedding party in some way. I don't know. What we do know is that Cana and Nazareth, which is Jesus' hometown, they're right next to each other. Oh, good. I was going to have to do the Michigan thing here, but we got a map up here. Okay, good. So they're just right close to their neighboring towns there. Okay. And then and then there's some tension that's introduced to the story, and it comes next here in John 2:3. Let's read together. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "Hey, they have no wine." I don't know. How would your mother say that to you? I don't know. Hey, they have no wine. And you might think, well, this is no big deal. Just send someone to the store, get some more wine, right? But it does not work this way. To run out of wine would stop the whole party. This is worse than having a dance party and then someone setting off the smoke alarms. This is worse than that. There's an even greater consequence in an honor culture. This would bring shame upon this young couple that's just starting out. and it's a shame that would, follow them and their new life together. It's bad. I mean, it's not like life and death bad, but it's bad. And for some reason, Mary seems to have some kind of role of responsibility here. This is the first appearance of Mary and John, but we already see her faith in Jesus. Mary believes he could somehow save this young family from shame. So she says to him, Jesus, they have no wine. And at first, he's reluctant. This is what Jesus says next. Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to me and to you? My hour has not yet come." It's a weird reason for hesitancy, don't you think? My hour has not yet come. What does Jesus mean by my hour? Here's a little interpretation tip. When you run into something that you have a question about, most of the time you can actually gain greater clarity and context just by asking, gosh, I wonder, where else does this book use this same word or phrase or idea? And then do a little word search through an online Bible software like Bible Gateway or something like that. This is actually what I did when I came upon this. I was like, I'm just going to do a little word search here. So this is what I found about Jesus' hour. So John 7:30, then they tried to arrest him, but no one laid hands on him because his hour had not yet come. Another one, Jesus spoke these words while he was teaching in the treasury of the temple, but no one arrested him because his hour had not yet come. One more. Jesus answered them, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. My hours. Okay, this is pretty helpful, don't you think? What, in this context, what does my hour mean? Yeah, it means this event, this death. It means being arrested, being killed. So now, why does Jesus connect him responding to the need for more wine at a wedding with getting arrested and dying? That feels like a really far stretch, don't you think? If we look ahead, I think it's this, that each time Jesus performs a sign, it points people to who he is, Word of God, Son of the Father, and this revelation of identity creates controversy. We see this as a pattern. It creates a controversy. People are faced with a choice, believe this craziness that he's talking about, or don't. And some believe, and some are offended and want to kill him, and it just intensifies and intensifies. The more signs that he does, the more it intensifies. So, is the wine shortage worth risking your life? I mean, what would you do? Would you risk your life for the party? Pam says no. We know what Jesus' mission is, though, right? To bring life and loads of it. So although hesitant, Jesus makes this couple's life his business. And Jesus lays down his life for his friends, which is the theme of the second half of the book. So I love what Mary, Jesus' mother, says next. His mother said, do whatever he tells you, to the servants. Do whatever he tells you. She knew that he would come around to it even though it wasn't his hour. So she tells the servants, just do whatever he tells you. And Mary's got good advice for when the wine gives out. Maybe you're there too. Maybe it's not wine that's run out for you. But maybe it's your spouse's affection for you that's run out. Maybe it's the rent money that has gone out. Maybe it's your will to just keep going into 2024 that has gone out. And Mary gives a nudge and says, just do whatever he tells you. Even if it doesn't make sense, what do you got to lose? Just do whatever he tells you. See what happens, okay? See if he really wants to bring you life or not. Just try it out. This is what so much spiritual formation is about. Just like taking a risk, see what happens. Just test it. It's like scientific method. Just try it out. John 2:6. Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Take a look at this picture, y'all. This is, not that one. Not that one. Did we got the other one? Oh, the punchline came before the joke. This is an archaeological dig called the Burnt House. It's in the old city of Jerusalem. And it's a first century dwelling that belonged to a well-known priestly family, the House of Cathros. This is the kitchen preparation room. Look what was found there. This is so cool. Can you count them? There's 6 stone water jars. So it's likely that the wedding in Cana was at the house of a temple priest. That's why there are purification vessels there. Like they wouldn't just simply be in just any old home. This might also give us some insight into why Jesus might think that he could be hastening his hour by doing his first sign in the home of a religious leader. Okay, now we're going to go to the next one. Now, 20 to 30 gallons times 6. Anyone doing the math here? Where's our math, folks? 180 gallons. 180 gallons. Geez, that's like 4,542 bottles of wine. This is not just a sufficient amount of wine. This is over the top. I mean, geez, Jesus. This is abundant. This is abundant. Does this tell you anything about Jesus? Like, we're doing this to get to know Jesus. Does this tell you anything? Does it inform your perspective of Jesus? John 2:7-9, let's read it together. Jesus said to them, fill the jars with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, now draw some out and take it to the person in charge of the banquet. So they took it. When the person in charge tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, that person called the bridegroom and said to him, everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now. Ooh. Isn't that kind of fun that only the servants know where the wine came from? Everyone is benefiting from this transformation, yet only the servants, only the ones who just, hey, do whatever Jesus tells you, got to be in on the secret. At what point do you think the water transformed into wine? This is a fun question. I don't know. When the servants filled the jars? When the jars were brimming over? When they drew it out? When they took it to the person in charge? When the person in charge took a drink? When does it change, right? I mean, we can't know this, but it's a fun question to ask. Does it change the story at all to place that transformation in different places there? What we do know is that this is a story of transformation. Holy water into fine wine. Shame into celebration. Jesus is transformed too into the bridegroom, the host of this messianic party, saving the best for last. So this story ends this way. The story ends, Jesus did this, It's the first of his signs. It was in Cana of Galilee, and it revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. Whenever Jesus performs a sign, you can know three things. One is that it's going to point to identity, a controversial identity. But it's also going to restore dignity, human dignity, and give life. And something else is going to happen. Disciples are going to believe. So that's it. That's the first sign. Hopefully you know a couple more things about the Gospel of John and that your appetite is whetted for more. So will you pray with me? Jesus, it is a new year. Some of us are taking the opportunity to evaluate our lives. And some of us resonate with the wedding couple who is facing shame and disappointment about the wine going out. And we want to follow Mary's advice. Do what you say, because we're at the beginning of trusting you. We're at the beginning of trusting that what you really want to do is bring life and a ridiculous amount of life. The life that is in God. And we want to believe you. We want to trust you. So help us. Help our unbelief, God. We ask this in your name. Amen.